Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing good. Our today's topic is regulatory authorities and agencies, and this topic is being covered in the seventh semester industrial pharmacy syllabus. I hope you are seeing this screen. Industrial pharmacy under Unit 3 Regulatory Affairs. There is a topic regulatory authorities, and also when it comes to the eighth semester under pharmaceutical regulatory science. Again, the same topic, regulatory authorities and agencies, is being mentioned in the syllabus. So we are focusing on this topic today and moving on to the introduction part. So as we all know, drugs play a pivotal role in the health of the people as well as economy of the country. Therefore, development, production, import, export, and subsequent distribution of drugs has to be regulated to ensure that new drugs meet the prescribed standards. And there is a need to protect the consumer's health against harm resulting from poor quality medicinal products. So, the drug regulatory agencies has been developed in order to protect the consumers' health against such poor quality medicinal products. And the main aim of these agencies, or the main roles of these agencies, is to regulate the safety, efficacy, and quality of medicinal products, as well as providing access to cost-effective and good quality medicinal products. So, these are the major roles of drug regulatory authorities. And moving on to the objectives, uh, the drug regulatory agencies has to ensure the rational usage of drugs. So, what do you mean by rational usage of drugs? Rational use of drugs or rational use of medicines means the patients receive medication appropriate to their clinical needs in doses that meet their requirement for an adequate period and at a low cost to them as well as their community. So that's what radical use of medicine means. So the drug regulatory authority must ensure the rational usage of drugs, and also they have to ensure all drugs and cosmetics available in the market or the drugs or cosmetics which they are approving are safe and of acceptable quality. And they also must ensure the continuous supply of drugs, cosmetics, as well as the medicinal products, so that these drugs, cosmetics, as well as medical devices will be available to the patients at the right time. Now, moving on to the functions of drug regulatory authority. Here are a few functions mentioned in this particular slide. So here, licensing, registration, and labeling of new medicinal products, inspection of manufacturing facilities and distribution channels, quality control, monitoring of adverse drug reactions, controlling of advertisements on drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices, monitoring and approving clinical trials, evaluating safety and efficacy data, development of guidelines on drug and drug products, control of narcotics and psychotropic agents, training of healthcare professionals, arrangement of awareness programs for general public, monitoring and approving changes in the drug, cosmetics, medical devices that are already approved, and also they have to grant marketing authorization and implementation of good manufacturing practices for drugs and cosmetics. So we can look into these points in detail. So I am sharing a Word document here in order to see the detailed description of each function. So moving on to the first function, licensing, registration, and labeling of new pharmaceutical products. So the drug regulatory authorities like CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization, under the Ministry of Health and Welfare, of Health and Family Welfare, and this is the Drug Regulatory Authority of India. Similarly, US FDA is the regulatory authority of US, EMA is the regulatory authority of Europe, and these are the functions of drug regulatory agencies in general. So the drug regulatory agencies must ensure that in case of licensing, no drug can be manufactured, imported, or sold without the proper approval. And registration, new drugs must be registered after submitting the detailed dossiers and they will check for the quality, safety, and efficacy. Next is labeling. The labels of the drugs and cosmetics must include the drug name, dosage form and strength, manufacturing and expiry date, warnings, contradictions. All these must have to be mentioned in the labeling. So if that kind of things like drug name, dosage form, manufacturing expiry date, warnings, contradictions, everything is mentioned properly, then we can prevent the misleading or incomplete information. So that's the main role of drug regulatory authority in the licensing, registration, and labeling of new pharmaceutical products. Next, the second function, inspection of manufacturing facilities and distribution channel. Here, the regular inspections ensure compliance with the standards like good manufacturing practices, especially in the manufacturing plant, warehouses, and distribution chains, that is among the wholesalers and retailers. So, if proper inspections has been carried out, then defects like adulteration, substandard production, improper storage condition, such kind of defects can be found easily and can rectify. Next, go about the quality control. One of the main of drug regulatory authorities to ensure the drugs meet the prescribed standards, especially the pharmacopoeial standards like pharmacopoeial standards. And these involves testing, includes the identity, purity, potency, dissolution, stability studies. And usually such kind of tests are being carried out in the government approved labs also. So this kind of testing prevents the circulation of spurious and substandard drugs. Next is monitoring of adverse drug reactions. Here, these drug regulatory agencies conduct the pharmacovigilance programs like Pharmacovigilance Program of India. And such kind of programs are being conducted and collected and analyze the adverse drug reactions report and detect the safety signals. So after conducting such programs, they can take actions like label changes, drug restriction or withdrawal, ensure post-marketing safety and all. And moving on to the another function of drug regulatory authority is the controlling advertisement of drug, cosmetics, and medical devices. So as we all know, these kind of uh, advertisements in India, these kind of advertisements are regulated by or under Drugs and Magic Remedies Act, and this helps to prohibit false therapeutic claims and also the misleading claims. And also, it helps to prohibit the promotion of prescription drugs to the public. And all these advertisement given in the all these information given in the advertisements should be scientifically accurate. So the drug regulatory authority must ensure whether the advertisements are proper or not. And about coming to the monitoring and approval of clinical trial, the clinical trial must be approved before the initiation, and the authorities ensure the ethical conduct, patient safety, and they must ensure proper informed consent has been collected from the patients or the volunteers that is involved in the clinical trial. And all the four phases, phase 1 to phase 4, are evaluated for approval. And next is evaluating safety and efficacy data. After the preclinical studies and clinical studies, the pharmaceutical company has to submit the information that is being gathered uh, after completing all the tests in the preclinical studies as well as the clinical studies. And the drug regulatory authorities ensures whether the drug is effective for the intended use, and also they will check for the benefit risk ratio, whether the benefit outweighs the risk or not, and only then the marketing authorization is granted. Development of guidelines on drug and drug products. Here, the regulatory body issues guidelines for manufacturing, clinical trial, bioequivalence studies, and stability studies. For example, CDSCO guidelines aligned with international bodies like World Health Organizations. And next function is the control of narcotics and psychotropic substances. So we know the law, that is NDPS Act, and the the importance of this NDPS Act is to control manufacture, distribution, and prescription of this NDPS. So which helps to prevent the drug abuse and illegal trafficking. Next is training of healthcare professionals. Usually the drug regulatory authorities conduct training programs for doctors, pharmacists, nurses, and the topics usually they prefer is rational use of drugs, ADR reporting, regulatory compliance. So the next point, awareness programs for the general public. The Drug Regulatory Authority educates public on safe use of drugs and dangers of self-medication and importance of medication adherence. So they will conduct campaigns like antibiotic resistance awareness campaign, vaccine safety campaigns, and all. Next point is monitoring and approving changes in the approved products, that is post-marketing surveillance. So any changes requires the approval from regulatory authority. So, for example, formulation changes, manufacturing site changes, label updates. For all these changes, the pharmaceutical company requires the approval from drug regulatory agencies. Then only they can ensure the quality, safety, and efficacy of the medicines as well as the medical devices. And next is granting marketing authorization after completing preclinical studies, clinical studies, and all. Finally, they will submit the data, all the data for review, and in that process, they will ensure whether the product is safe, effective, and of high quality, and also whether the benefits outweighs risk and all. So after conducting all this review, only they will give the approval for marketing. Next is implementation of GMP for drugs and cosmetics. Um, by implementing the GMP for drugs and cosmetics, they ensures the standardized manufacturing practices uh, like cleanliness, control environment, proper documentation, which helps to reduce the uh, batch to batch variation, contamination, etc. And it is also this following of GMP is also required for licensing. So coming to the conclusion, the drug regulatory agencies play a critical role in safeguarding the public health by ensuring that all pharmaceutical products are safe, effective, and of high quality, and they will regulate the entire life cycle for a drug from development to post-marketing surveillance. So that is the functions of drug regulatory authorities in general. Now, moving on to the regulatory agencies of the different countries. The Drug Regulatory Agency of India is CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization. US is US FDA, United States Food and Drug Administration. European Union, EMA, European Medicines Agency, and also as a supporting agency, the European Directorate of Quality of Medicines and Healthcare is also there. But if we ask for the regulatory agency of European Union, we will say European Medicines Agency only. And the regulatory authority of or agency of Australia is Therapeutic Goods Administration or TGA. And in case of Japan is MHLW, Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, Canada, Health Canada, UK, Medicines and Healthcare Regulatory Products Regulatory Agency, that is MHRA, and New Zealand, MedSafe, South Africa, MCC, Switzerland, Swissmedic. All these are the regulatory agencies of various countries. And similarly, there are international regulatory agencies. They will regulate in those countries whether there is no regulatory agencies are available. So, few international regulatory agencies are WHO, World Health Organization, International Council of Harmonization, World Intellectual Property Organization, World Trade Organization, and Pan American Health Organization. These are the few international regulatory agencies. So the main aim of these regulatory agencies, as we have already discussed, major functions have been already been discussed. And in case of international regulatory agencies, they must ensure a regulatory growth worldwide for ensuring the safety of individuals. And also, they must promote the public health by protecting them from the harmful diseases or, harmful drugs. And introduce more centralized drug regulation procedures, harmonize the regulatory standards, and strengthen the regulatory authorities worldwide. So these are the few uh, roles of international regulatory agencies. Now, moving on to the uh, major portion of this video, that is United States Food and Drug Administration. So, we are covering United States Food and Drug Administration for today. And in case of US FDA, it is one of the organizations that belong to United States Department of Health and Human Services, which is headquarters in White Oak, Maryland. And for US FDA, there is a commissioner which is appointed by the President of United States, and the commissioner reports to Secretary of Health and Human Services. And this US FDA has got 223 field offices, 13 laboratories in US, and branch offices in various countries, including India. The main function to protect and promote public health by regulating and supervising the safety of food, dietary supplement, biopharmaceuticals, prescription and over-the-counter drugs or medications, medical devices, vaccines, blood products, cosmetics, veterinary products, electromagnetic radiation devices. So the main aim is to protect and promote public health by regulating all these things like food, dietary supplement, biopharmaceuticals, drugs, medical devices, etc. So in case of prescription drugs, the major role of US FDA is to approve manufacturing, labeling, advertising, marketing, and also to check the safety and efficacy of those prescription drugs. In case of cosmetics, the FDA will look for the labeling and safety of the cosmetic products. And some things that do not come under the role of regulatory authority of FDA is advertising, except for the medicinal products, medical devices, and tobacco products, and also the alcoholic beverages, household appliances, illegal drug abuse, health insurance, restaurants, grocery stores, etc., will not come under the regulatory authority of US FDA. Now, moving on to the objectives of US FDA. First objective is to strengthen the agency by creating an environment which would encourage the teamwork, mutual respect, integrity, transparency, and accountability, and also by strengthening the scientific expertise, operational base, along with enhancing its partnerships and communication. Next objective is to improve patient and consumer safety. For that, they improve the information system which directly influences the product safety, and also give or provide clear information about the risk-benefit ratio of the medicinal products as well as the foodborne illness in a timely manner. Next objective is to enhance access to new food and medical products. For that, they are ensuring the availability of new, safe, and effective medicines and accessibility of safe and nutritious food products to the general public, and also improve processes involved in review of the medicinal products. And the fourth objective is to improve manufactured products and supply chain. For that, they are ensuring high quality manufacturing, processing, and distribution of products by modernizing the standards and tools and by stimulating the development of new and improved continuous manufacturing technologies, and also strengthen the communication and coordination enabled in timely and effective response to emerging safety problems. So these are the major four objectives of US FDA. First one is to strengthen the agency. Second one is to improve the patient and consumer safety. Third one is to enhance access to new food and medicinal products. And fourth one, to improve manufactured products and supply chain. Next, we are moving on to the structure and organization of USFDA. So here, in USFDA, there are 18,000 multidisciplinary staffs comprising of pharmacists, pharmacologists, physicians, chemists, statisticians, scientists, and administrative staffs. And the major goal has already been discussed, that is to protect and promote the health of US citizens. And coming to the organizational and structure part, actually, the offices, we are discussing about the offices and centers. So here there are eight offices and centers under the USFDA. First one is Office of Commissioner, and this Office of Commissioner oversees the function of the following offices, like offices of Chief Scientist, offices of Council, offices of Legislation, Office of Minority Health, Office of External Affairs, Office of Women's Health, Office of Special Health Issue, Office of Counselor of the Commissioner, etc. And next is Office of Regulatory Affairs or ORA. Here, the Office of Regulatory Affairs actually ensures whether the product complies with the laws and regulations. So the major aim of this Office of Regulatory Affairs under USFDA is to ensure the product compliance with the laws and regulations, whether there are violating this laws and regulations during the manufacture or during the licensing or during the import, export, etc. And next is National Center for Toxicological Research. Here, they conduct scientific research to provide reliable data on toxicity of drug products. So the major objective or aim is to conduct the scientific research uh, whether there is any toxicity in the drug products, and also collect the suitable or reliable data and also provide the review. Next is Center for Biologics and Research, that is CBER, regulation of biological products like blood, vaccines, sera, and these are the major objective or role of this CBER. Next is Center for Device and Radiological Health. Here, the major aim is to regulate and supervise the safety and efficacy of the medical devices and radiation emitting devices like X-ray systems, laser, cellular telephones, ovens, etc. So they can also um, see the manufacturing performance, and also uh, they can check the pre-marketing approval of the medical devices, and also they have the right to recall the uh, defective medical devices or radiation emitting devices if necessary. Next is CDER, that is Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. The main aim is to review the safety and efficacy of all prescription and over-the-counter drugs to commercial use, whether the approved drug is safe and effective, and what is the benefit risk ratio, etc. All those kind of evaluations. And also, the CDR also evaluates whether they possess any significant risk to the patients and also the consumer health, whether any drug product is affecting the consumer health and all. And next is Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, that is CFSAN. They regulate the safety of food and cosmetics, and also they help to ensure safe, clean, nutritious, and properly labeled food products. Next is Center for Veterinary Medicine, that is CVM. Here they are focusing on the safety of the animal feed, veterinary drugs, and devices that is mainly used for the animals. So whether they are the major role is to focus on the safety of such kind of products. So next is about the organization and structure of FDA in detail. So for that we can look at the US FDA website, um, and in the US FDA, this is the US FDA website, and here in the US FDA website, they have given a lot of information regarding the 1 year reforms, the topics, related topics, FDA in action, press announcements, products that we regulate. Usually, FDA regulates products like food, drug, medical devices, radiating emitting devices, vaccines, animal and veterinary products, cosmetics, tobacco products, etc. So these are the products that the US FDA regulates. And now moving on to about FDA. FDA in the FDA website itself, it is clearly mentioning about their mission of promoting and protecting the public health of the US citizens. Here they are mentioning more than 18,000 FDA employees work in all 50 states and internationally to ensure the safety and effectiveness of human and veterinary medicines, biologics, and medical devices. And they also regulate the safety of food, cosmetics, devices that emit radiation and tobacco products. And under it, mission, organization, budget, conduct, what we regulate, what we inspect, etc. being given. And also who we are, FDA commissioner. He's the Dr. Martin is the current FDA commissioner. And the next part which we need for today's session is actually about the organization. So coming to the organization, USFDA is a regulatory agency in the Department of Health and Human Services. And in the left side, we can clearly see the officers and centers which we have mentioned just now. Office of the Commissioner, Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, CBER, Center for Devices Regulation, Radiological Health, CDRH, and Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, CDER, Human Drug Foods Program, Center for Tobacco Products, Center for Veterinary Medicines, etc. are there, and Office of Inspections, Investigation, Oncology Center of Excellence, etc. comes under the FDA organization. So we can move on to the organizational chart actually. So this is the chart which I have been given in the PowerPoint also, the same thing. Here you can see very clearly the organizational chart of FDA. Here, the Office of Commissioner, Office of Commissioner of Food and Drugs, Chief of Staffs, etc. are there, and Office of Chief Counsel, Office of Executive Secretariat, Counselor to Commissioner, Digital Transformation, Enterprise Transformation, Planning, Evaluation, Risk Management, and again subdivisions like CBR, CDRS, CDER, CTP, CVM, Oncology Center of Excellence, Office of Chief Medical Officers, Office of External Affairs, Office of Minority Health and Health Equity, Office of Operations, Office of Policy, Legislation and International Affairs, Office of Chief Scientist, Office of Human Health, Human Food Programs, and Office of Inspections and Investigation. This is actually the organizational chart of US FDA. This is what actually in the eighth semester pharmaceutical regulatory science, they are actually focusing on this organizational structure as well as the applications. So the same thing is given in this PowerPoint, and we can see few of the officers and their roles and details in detail. First one is the Office of Commissioner. Office of Commissioner actually uh, in the website they have clearly mentioned about the Office of Commissioner here, and under Office of Commissioner, uh, these offices and centers come under this Office of Commissioner. So Office of Commissioner provides centralized agency-wide program direction and management services for agency program to ensure that FDA's consumer protection and efforts are effectively managed within its regulatory framework, and those available resources are put to the most efficient use. And under this Office of Commissioner, immediate office of the commissioner, office of chief counsel, executive secretary, planning evaluation, risk management, digital transformation, etc., are there. So we can see the few of the offices in detail. Office of Commissioner, which directs and manages the FTA programs centrally to ensure effective consumer protection while optimizing the use of available resource within the regulatory framework. And Office of Chief Counsel, Office of Executive Secretary, Office of Digital Transformation, and Office of Planning Evaluation, Risk Management. We can see in detail. I have provided the details in this Word document. So coming to the Office of Chief Counsel, that is OCC, the major role is legal enforcement and litigation. Here, the Office of Chief Counsel handles civil and criminal cases under the Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act, and they also collaborate with the Department of Justice and represent FDA in the court. And they also ensure strong evidence and legal strategy for enforcement actions. Next, the legal advisory and regulatory support. They provide legal guidance on drugs, biologics, food, devices, cosmetics, and tobacco. And also, they review regulations, policies, legislations, and approvals. They also support FDA during the public health emergencies. Third, important function of OCC is policy compliance and integrity coordination. They assist in the congressional matters and policy implementation. They advise on compliance, warning letters, administrative proceedings, etc. And they coordinate with federal agencies, stakeholders, and public health bodies. Next, about the OES, that is Office of Executive Secretariat. Here, the main role is Central Information and Communication Hub. They integrate the administrative and communication function. They ensure efficient and transparent information flow within the FDA and within the DHHS, that is Department of Health and Human Services, other agencies, as well as the public. Next, major role, documentation review and executive coordination. They reviews and clears high-level documents, reports, and congressional communications. They also coordinate briefings, meetings, executive correspondence with senior leadership. And third one is operational support and record management. Here, they manages incoming communication and data requests from the White House, HSS, etc. And they maintain public calendars and official records and enhances efficiency through the process documentation and technology tools. Next is Office of Digital Transformation, that is ODT. Here, IT, data, and security leadership is one of the major role of Office of Digital Transformation by they provide vision and leadership in the IT, data, and cybersecurity. They support FDA's mission and strategic priorities under the commissioner. And second point is strategic planning and resource management. Here, they direct enterprise IT planning, policies, and investments and ensures maximum value from technology and data systems. Third one is key divisions and innovation focus. Here includes OIMT, ODER, and OIS led by CTO, CDO, and CISO. We can see what it means actually. So under Office of Digital Transformation, we can see clearly the ODT is composed of Office of Information Management and Technology, that is OIMT, and Office of Data Analytics and Research, ODAR, and Office of Information Security, OIS, under the direction of Chief Technology Officer, that is CTO, CDO, Chief Data Officer, and Chief Information Security Officer, that is CISO. And they deliver trusted digital and data solution to enhance FDA operations. Next is Office of Planning, Evaluation and Risk Management, that is OPERM. Here also the major function is strategic planning and performance management. They lead planning, evaluation, performance system across FDA, and they support budget planning, program management, and outcome measurement. Next function is risk management and organizational efficiency. Here they manages enterprise risk, internal controls, and compliance. Next, They guide change management, restructuring, and process improvements. And third one, decision support and coordination. Here, they provide analysis for policies, budget, and resource optimization. And they also assess FDA, DHHS, and Congress in informed decision making. And also, they act as a liaison for multi-agency planning activities. So these are the few functions of this organizations which comes under the US FDA, especially under the Office of Commissioner. Now, moving on to the organizational structure of CDER. As we already discussed, what is the role of CDER actually? They review safety and efficacy of all prescription and over-the-counter drugs prior to the commercial use. So the CDER, the organizational structure of CDER is again being subdivided into Office of Regulatory Policy, Office of Management, Office of Communication, Office of Surveillance and Epidemiology, Office of Compliance, Office of New Drugs, Office of Medical Policy, Office of Executive Program, Office of Translational Sciences, Office of Strategic Program, Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, and Office of Generic Drugs. So this is clearly mentioned in this particular website, the CDER. What is the major role of CDER? It performs essential public health tasks by making sure that safe and effective drugs are available to improve the health of the people in the United States, and also regulates the OTC and prescription drugs, including the biological therapeutics and generic drugs. Also, other than the medicines, they also regulate fluoride, toothpaste, antiperspirants, dandruff shampoos, sunscreens, etc. So this is the organizational chart uh, which I have shown just now in the PowerPoint. That is about the CDER. And next is CBER. Under CBER, then offices under the director, again, it is being subdivided into Office of Management, Office of Compliance and Biological Quality, Office of Biostatistics and Pharmacovigilance, Office of Blood Research and Review, Office of Vaccine Research and Review, Office of Therapeutic Products, Office of Communication, Outreach and Development, Office of Regulatory Operations. So CBER, coming to the CBER website, CBER, as we all know, they regulate the biological products for human use under applicable federal laws like Public Health Service Act and Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. They also protects and advances public health by ensuring that the biological products are safe and effective and available to those who need them. And they also provide public with the information to promote safe and appropriate use of biological products. And about the offices and divisions of CBER, the CBER offices and divisions is being given in the PowerPoint. And next, we are moving on to the CDRH. CDRH, this is the website of CDRH. Here, the CDRH is responsible for protecting and promoting the public health by assuring the patients and provide safe, effective, and high quality medical devices and safe radiation emitting products. And they facilitate medical device innovation by advanced regulatory science, providing industry with predictable, consistent, transparent, and efficient regulatory pathways, and assuring consumer confidence in device marketed in the US. So here also CDRH management by organization, this Office of Central Director, Office of Communication, Information Disclosure and Training Education, Office of Management, Office of Policy, Office of Product Evaluation and Quality, Office of Science, Engineering and Laboratory, Office of Strategic Partnership and Technology Innovation. So this is being given in this point under the Director, Office of Management, and other offices which I have mentioned from the website. That is about the CDRH. And next, moving on to the organizational structure of CVM, that is Center for Veterinary Medicine, under Director, Office of Management, Office of New Animal Drug Evaluation, Office of Surveillance and Compliance, Office of Applied Science, Office of Minor Use and Minor Species Animal Drug Development, Office of Generic Animal Drugs. So, about coming to the CVM website, the main mission of CVM is protecting human and animal health, and how they achieve this particular broad mission by ensuring the animal drugs are well to en they have to ensure the animal drugs are safe, effective, and properly made and adequately labeled and packed. They must ensure that when food producing animals such as cattle, chickens are treated with an animal drug, food made from those animals such as meat, milk, eggs are safe for the people to eat. They have to ensure that new animal food additives are safe and serve their intended function. They have to educate the pet owners, animal producers, veterinarians, animal health industry about the products that they regulate. They monitor the safety of all types of food products and all types of for all types of animals. They have to monitor and investigate the side effects and product quality problems that are reported for animal foods, drugs, and devices like thermometers, pacemakers once they are sold onto the market. They have to carry out research to support their policies and regulations about animal food, drugs, and devices. And also, they works to make more animal drugs legally available for minor species such as ferrets, fish, and for minor uses in a major species such as horses and dogs. And also, they have to work to support and spur the development of new technologies and approaches that addresses health needs across human, animal, and environmental health sectors, and leads, coordinates, and manages CVM international activities in collaboration with relevant FDA centers and officers, as well as the FDA's international regulatory counterparts. So these are the major role of CVM. And next, we are moving on to the Center for Tobacco Products, the organizational structure of Center for Tobacco Products. Again, from the director, it is being subdivided into Office of Management, Office of Regulations, Office of Science, Office of Health Communication Education, Office of Compliance and Enforcement. Now we can see this website of Center for Tobacco Products. Here, the Center for Tobacco Products oversees the implementation of Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act, and under this, some of the responsibilities under the law includes setting performance standards, review pre-marketing applications of the new and modified risk tobacco products, requiring new warning labels, and establishing and enforcing advertising and promotion restrictions. And the mission and vision of this CVM is also being given in the website. Next is the National Center for Toxicological Research or Office of Chief Scientist. Here, from the director, this being subdivided into Office of Management, Office of Research, and Office of Scientific Coordination. Next is about the regulatory programs. The main regulatory programs, as we have already discussed from the website of FDA itself, from the FDA website, it is clearly mentioned what are the products they are regulating. Mm, Yeah, here it is mentioning about the products that they are regulating: food, drug, medical devices, radiating imaging devices, vaccines, blood and biologics, animals and veterinary, cosmetics, tobacco products, etc. So when we go deeper into it, they have given all those things, what all the things they are doing under the food, especially human food programs and all, and we can get every details from the products that they regulate, like drugs, food, etc. From the website. More information will be available in the website. And coming to the regulatory programs, in case of drugs, especially the advertisements and promotion of the prescription drugs are reviewed and regulated by the Office of Prescription Drug Promotion, and also the OTC drugs advertisement and promotion is being reviewed and regulated by Federal Trade Commission. And CDER of FDA regulates three types of drug products, especially new drugs, generic drugs, and OTC drugs. So the CDER has the right for the pre-marketing approval of these new drug, generic drug, and OTC drugs. Mm, And in case of new drugs, the pharmaceutical company has to submit an application called new drug application, and the CDER will review and evaluate this new drug application. And then after reviewing, if they feel this particular drug is safe, effective, and high quality, then the approval is being given. Then only that particular new drug can be marketed. So, in case of generic drugs, another application called ANDA, that is abbreviated new drug application, is being submitted by the manufacturers. And what is generic drugs? Generic drugs actually are the chemical equivalents of the branded drugs whose patents have expired. Once more, generic drugs are chemical equivalents of branded drugs whose patents have expired. So that is generic drugs. And for that generic drug approval, manufacturers usually submit ANDA, that is abbreviated new drug application, and the CDER will evaluate and review this ANDA application. And after confirming the therapeutic equivalence with the existing drug, that is, or the branded drug, if the generic drug is found to be equivalent or therapeutically equivalent to the branded drug, then the CDER will give approval. And they also provide approval for OTC medications, and they have a list of approved drugs which can be combined in numerous ways to obtain the this OTC drug pre-marketing approval. So OTC drugs are actually a combination of two or more drugs that can be sold without prescription, as these are considered safe. And next is about the biological therapeutic agents, that is usually the biological products like vaccines, blood products, etc. For the pre-marketing approval, the biological licensing application is the application that is being submitted by the manufacturer, and these pre-marketing approval is being given by the CBER, Center for Biological Evaluation and Research. Next is about the medical devices. For the medical devices, the regulation of pre-marketing approval, manufacturing performance, and safety of medical devices is being regulated by CDRH, and in case of cosmetics, CFSAN. CFSAN we have already discussed. It is Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition. So, in case of food and cosmetic regulations, especially the label and safety of the food and cosmetics is being conducted by the CFSAN. And next, veterinary products. The veterinary product regulations, veterinary food products, excipients, medicines given to the animals is being regulated by Center for Veterinary Medicines, and they will also check whether that particular food or medicines that is given to the animal is safe and effective. And also, under the regulatory programs, science and research programs, under the science and research programs, the FDA as such conduct the R&D programs in the field of drugs, women's health, food safety, biologics and veterinary medicines, etc. So they will conduct research programs in all these fields and promote the research activities. Next, moving on to the functions of US FDA in general. So, as we have already discussed, uh, the main function is to approve new drugs as well as generic drugs and OTC drugs. And here they will look for uh, they won't conduct any particular test as such, but they will review the test results of the studies conducted by the manufacturers for the safety and effectiveness of the new drugs and also the prescription and OTC drugs. They also ensure effectiveness of the biological products like insulin and vaccine, and they examine the operations of blood bank, especially the records to contaminant testing will be examined by the US FDA, and they also ensure the safety of medical devices like pacemakers, and they inspect and approve dyes and additives that is being used in cosmetics, drugs, and food products. And they conduct tests on food samples for the presence of contaminants or other substances like pesticides. The prescribed, they also ensure whether the prescribed standards for labeling of the products are being given accurately or they meet the prescribed standards for labeling. And they also ensure whether the medicated food and food products used for pet and farm animals meet the required standards. And also, they evaluate the safety performance standards for radiating emitting devices. And they also carry out inspection and also grant of legal sanctions. So these are some of the functions of US FDA in general. And next, moving on to the type of applications. So these type of applications, as we have already discussed, but not in detail, for the new drugs and generic drugs and OTC drugs, what are the applications that is being used or by the manufacturers in order to get approval? So usually the US FDA will review these applications and give approval to the drugs uh, for various needs. For example, if a particular manufacturer needs needs to start a clinical trial after the preclinical trial that is being conducted in the animals, they will submit an application called investigational new drug application, and this investigational new drug application contain informations, all those studies and informations that is being uh, conducted in the preclinical studies. And with that particular information, they will submit this application to the US FDA for the review. And only if they feel this particular drug can be used for the clinical trials in human, they will give approval. And coming to the new drug application is usually submitted after the phase 3 of clinical trial for marketing by the manufacturers. And after carrying out the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 studies, or with that information, they will submit this particular, manufacturers will submit this particular application for US FDA review. And in case of abbreviated new drug application, this application is mainly applicable to the generic drugs. Generic drugs, as I have already discussed, they are the chemical equivalents of the branded drugs once the patent period is over or expired. So in case of generic drugs, the manufacturers will submit the abbreviated new drug application showing that this particular generic drug is therapeutically equivalent to the new drug. Next is over-the-counter drugs application and also the biological license application for biological products like insulin, vaccines, blood products, etc. Usually, those manufacturers submit the biological license application for marketing. So these applications are being studied in detail in the seventh semester as well as the eighth semester regulatory science. Uh, so I'm not explaining this applications in detail here, just mentioning the name and what is the role of this particular application or where these applications are being submitted or when this application is being submitted to US FDA and what is the role of US FDA after submitting these applications. So that is the intention of this particular slide. So today, uh, so that's about regulatory authorities and agencies. And today I have focused mainly on the US FDA. And in the regulatory science syllabus, they are also mentioning about the regulatory organization and organization structure and applications of Europe, uh, Canada, Australia, etc. So I have discussed US FDA in detail today. So we have learned actually what is the role of drug regulatory agencies in general, what are their objectives, what are the functions of drug regulatory agencies in general, and which are the regulatory agencies of various countries and also the international regulatory agencies, USFDA introduction, objectives, structure and organization, and all these organizational structure is given in detail in the USFDA website that I have shown. Under about FDA, we can clearly see the organization here, and under the organization there are various offices and centers, which I have explained in this particular PowerPoint in detail. So these are the structure and organization of various centers that is involved in the US FDA and about the regulatory programs, mainly the drugs, medical devices, cosmetics, veterinary products, and biological therapeutic agents, functions, and also the type of applications. So that's all for today's session. Thank you so much.